My Safety Training Online presents Signals, Signs, and Barricades. What you will learn. We'll discuss OSHA laws that are applicable, workplace discussion. We'll do hazardous work situations, types of signs, use by contractors of signals, signs, and barricades. We'll give you the definitions used in the industry. OSHA citations for signals, signs, and barricades. This is covered under 1926.201, the Flagman Traffic Control Standard, and 1926.201A3, Flagman Hand Signaling. Chapter 1, the Contractor and Signals, Signs, and Barricades. The contractor has the ability to control safety in the work zones through design of the road, construction and maintenance, staging of work, and the contractor's compliance with the FDOT, or Florida Department of Transportation. Contractor can also control for safety through the planning and design of work zones, traffic enforcement plans, and enforcement of traffic controls. Sign types and contractor use. There are danger signs, caution signs, exit signs, safety instruction signs, traffic signs, and accident prevention tags. .200 states that signs and symbols are required as part of subpart G shall be visible at all times when the work is being performed. They shall be removed or covered promptly when the hazards no longer exist. ANSI regulations and danger signs. Use them only where the immediate hazards exist, and they must have white letters and red field with a black mask. They must conform to ANSI, American National Standard Institute, Z53.1-1967. Definition of a barricade. A structure set up across a route of access to obstruct the passage of an enemy. Something that serves as an obstacle, a barrier. To close off or block with barricade. To keep out or in by means of a barricade. .200 to 203 covers barricades. Signs, warnings of hazards temporarily or permanently affixed or placed at a location where hazards exist. Signals. Signals are moving signs provided by workers such as flagmen or by devices such as flashing lights to warn of possible or existing hazards. Tags. Temporary signs usually attached to a piece of equipment or part of a structure to warn existing or immediate hazards. A flagman is defined as when operations are such that signals, signs, and barricades are not enough for protection, flagmen or other appropriate controls shall be provided. They provide signaling directions conforming with ANSI D6.1-1971, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways. Hand signaling by flagmen shall be using red flags at least 18 inches square or sign paddles and in periods of darkness or red lights. Flagmen shall be provided with and shall wear red or orange warning garments while flagging. Warning garments at night shall be reflectorized material. Danger signs. Danger signs shall be used only where immediate hazards exist. The dominating color for an upper panel and black outline on the borders and white lower on the lower panel. Caution signs must be dominated by the color yellow when constructed. Remember that Subpart G, 1926.200-203 covers all barricades that are constructed at a job site. Federal and state departments of transportation regulation call for transitions from temporary concrete wall barriers onto freeway facilities. RPM Class A. This refers to permanent applications in non-traffic areas that can be used in work zone applications for traffic and non-traffic areas. RPM Class B. This refers to permanent applications in traffic and non-traffic areas as well as work zone applications. Typical placement of a reflected pavement markers in lieu of temporary tape or paint in work zones. RPM Class D. This refers to work zone applications only for traffic and non-traffic areas. Class E refers to temporary work zones at not exceeding 5 continuous days for traffic and non-traffic areas. Okay, here we can see a listing of the ANSI standards for barricades. Z35 covers accident prevention signs. Z35.2 covers accident prevention tags. D6.1 covers the manual for uniform traffic control devices for streets and highways. Types of signs regulated under OSHA are 200 to 203, as well as the action prevention tags, which must be present at all times when work is progressing. Signaling directions used by flagmen shall conform with ANSI D6.1. Vehicle traffic signs shall be posted with legible traffic control signs at points of hazard. Work zone barricades, cones, and sign regulations must meet FDOT regulations. These will vary with drop-offs in work zones, reflective pavement markers, and temporary curbs. Job site hazard controls. Recommended controls for highway traffic safety situations. Here we can see a spacing of advanced warning signs depending upon the speed of 25 to 30, 35 to 40, 45 to 55. Here's an example of a worksite added penalty sign showing a speeding, maximum $1,000, reckless driving, maximum 8 years. Here we can see some signs, signals, and barricades as placed in actual highway situations. Here we can see examples of channelizing devices. Warning lights may supplement reflectorization on devices. They are especially useful for areas prone to fog or frequent inclement weather. Warning lights should have a minimum mounting height of 30 inches. The principal types and uses of warning lights are low-intensity flashing lights, type A, high-intensity flashing lights type B, and low-intensity steady burn lights type C. Vehicle hazard lights, four-way flashers, shall not be used as warning lights. They can be used as supplement vehicle warning lights. RPM spacing or equals 40 feet. The gaps between skips are 30 feet. A passing zone must be 80 feet. An arrow display in the display or chevron mode may be used to supplement signs and other devices for lane closures on multi-lane roadways. An arrow display in the caution mode shall be used only for shoulder work, blocking the shoulder, or roadside work near the shoulder. Here we can see the panel types, the roadway speed, the minimum size, minimum number of lamps, and minimal legibility distance. The traffic control zone is the distance between the first advance warning sign and the point beyond the work area is no longer affected. Check out the next diagram showing the 6 parts of a traffic control zone. Here we can see the vehicle protection area, the buffer area, taper area, and advance warning area. A merging taper situation calls for the number of lanes to be reduced on a multi-lane road. A shifting taper calls for a lateral shift but no reduction in the number of lanes. A shoulder taper situation says the shoulder is closed. A two-way shoulder taper means that opposing directions of traffic share one open lane. A downstream taper is defined as the work area ending and the traffic resumes normal driving. The taper length criteria for work zones is dependent upon the speed, the shoulder tapers, the shifting tapers, and the merging tapers, and whether it is a low speed or high speed situation. The buffer area is recommended for a work area. It serves to separate the traffic flow from the work area or to potentially hazardous areas and provide a recovery space for an errant vehicle. The buffer area should not include any work activity nor storage equipment, vehicles, or material. Here we show the distance of a flagger station in advance of the workspace. At speed of 20 miles per hour, the distance would be 35 feet, whereas at speeds of 65 miles per hour, the distance is 485 feet. The supervisor's checklist for buffer lengths are: number 1, have a traffic control plan before going to the work site. Number 2, ask yourself, what is the driver's view of the work site at night, during peak hours, etc. Number 3, investigate crashes, incidents to identify if changes are needed in a traffic control plan. Number 4, for overhead work, traffic control is required for all affected lanes. Answer these 5 questions criteria for proper traffic control. What type of road or two-lane, multi-lane will we be working? Are we working the shoulder or roadway? How long will we be at the location? Is extra protection needed? Is a lane being restricted or encroached upon? Remember that curvy and hilly situations may require extra work zone safety measures. Remember to document what those measures were. Extra care should be taken when scheduling work at night. Plan ahead wherever possible, involving all affected employee personnel, to ensure that everyone understands what is expected of them, and that you should have proper traffic control equipment for the job. The immediate response to an emergency situation is to make use of available devices. Longer-term emergencies should be treated similar to temporary traffic control. Nighttime traffic control. The work zones mentioned in this program are minimum requirements, and extra control should be utilized when needed. Closing additional lanes when possible and using message boards are just two tools that are available. Signs must be retro-reflective. Message boards are portable message signs used to alert the public of work. Arrow boards are lights which should be dimmed for the right operations. Lighting should have the strength of Class 3 with a 20-foot candle capacity. Personal protective equipment, consult your DOT organization for safety manual and safety apparel at night. Channeling devices are cones of 28 inches with retro-reflective tape. Nighttime traffic control general safety calls for trucks pulling arrow signs for nighttime operations should turn off all warning lights and flashers to the rear to prevent distracting the view of the arrow board. Headlights should be on during mobile operations. Other acceptable advanced warning signs are those indicating shoulder work. An advanced warning sign should be used, and if the work is performed immediately adjacent to the shoulder, equipment will cross the roadway and distract motorists. Warning signs may be eliminated if the workspace is behind the barrier more than 2 feet, or 15 feet or more from the edge of the travel lane. Shoulder closed signs should be used on limited access highways, where there is no opportunity for disabled vehicles to pull off the highway. Utility work ahead signs may be used instead of a road work ahead sign. Use of an arrow display is optional. On non-freeway multi-lane roads in urban situations, sign spacing can be reduced, as shown in the chart with less than 40 mph speed limit. Paved shoulders greater than 8 feet and with a closed divided roadway call for shoulder closed signs on limited access highways. Use of an arrow display is optional, and on non-freeway multi-lane roads in urban situations the sign spacing is reduced. At 40 miles per hour or less, protection vehicle is optional. Lane closures for two-lane roads call for two-flagger operations. The flagger shall be used approved flagging procedures according to MUTCD, which stands for the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Double lane closures on divided roads for the short term call for a side road intersects the roadway within the work zone. Additional devices are required to channelize traffic to the side road and a work ahead sign erected on each side sign approach. On non-freeway multi-lane roads in urban areas, sign spacage may be reduced. 1,560 feet for less than 65 miles per hour, 1,680 feet for 70 miles per hour. Sidewalk closure notes. Only traffic control measures for pedestrians are shown. Other devices may be necessary to control traffic on streets. For nighttime closures, Type A flashing lights may be used on barricades and signs supporting closure. Type C steady burn lights may be used on channelizing devices, which separating the road walkway from traffic. Where high speeds are anticipated, use a barrier to separate the walkway from traffic. DOT regulations on MUTCD, or the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, calls for barriers which can be used. For more information, signs may be placed along the temporary walkway to guide or direct pedestrians. An example of such signs would be "Keep left" or "Keep right." Pedestrian and worker safety. If pedestrian path travel, such as sidewalks or footpaths, are closed by construction, then maintenance or utility operations, traffic control is needed. This includes the use of signs, channelizing devices, flags to direct pedestrians. The major considerations in planning pedestrian safety are temporary zones that pedestrians should not be led into to direct conflict with work vehicles or operations. Pedestrians should have provided a safe, convenient travel path. The safety of the workers is just as important as the safety of the pedestrians. The best protection for both is good work traffic zone controls. All workers should be trained in how to work in traffic zone in ways that minimize their vulnerability. Those workers with specific responsibilities should be trained in specific traffic control techniques, device usage, and placement. For nighttime work, similar garments shall be retroreflective and shall be designed to clearly identify the user and be visible to a full range of body motions. Mobile operations on a multi-lane zone. Protection vehicle number 1 should travel at varying distances from the work operation, so as to provide an adequate sight distance for traffic approaching from the rear. These signs might include slow-moving traffic ahead, paint crew ahead. These signs and/or changeable message signs should be used. If used, these signs should be placed a maximum of 5 miles from the protection vehicle number 1. If stationary signs are used, the activity is spread out, cover the distance or more than 2 miles, then the length of work sign or a supplemental panel should be used. Work should be normally done during off-peak hours. Protection vehicle spacing should be done according to the chart in the next slide